What's going on? Tectonic Edge here, and we have some MTG bans, so I'm going to try something new for these and do MTG Ban Court, where we're going to take a look at the card that got banned, particularly out of Modern, because that's the format I primarily care about, and see how it'll affect the meta and whether I think it was a good ban or a good not. So we'll see if the card that got banned today is indeed worthy of the ban hammer. Well, let's get right into it because you've probably already seen it. News gets out fast on these, and it came out just earlier this morning. Lurrus of the Dream Den has been banned in Modern and a few other formats at the same time, so they are really taking it out. This has already been banned in Legacy, so I'm not surprised to see this guy go. But Lurrus of the Dream Den is a 3-mana, 1 and a white-black or a white-black, so go in white or black deck or the combo deck, but you only need one of the two colors. Companion. That's the big effect here is so in order to have them in your deck, each permanent card in your starting deck has to have converted mana cost 2 or less, which in the Modern format is fairly easy to do because there's a lot of priority to lower cost things. Granted, as a Tron player, I don't follow that philosophy, but a lot of decks could squeeze this guy in for free. And then, of course, during each of your turns, you may cast one permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard. So he makes great recursion, and he's free. You have him in your sideboard. He comes back in, and if you don't need him, it's great. If you do need him, he can bring you back into the game, which is really powerful. And of course, even if not, he's a 3/2 with lifelink, which is pretty powerful in and of itself as well. So a lot of effects on one card that goes into a lot of different decks. And there's a bit of a history with this card as well. When the companion mechanic originally came out, you used to be able to cast it directly from the command zone. So it was the 3 mana, and you could have them right on the field. It was essentially a card that you started with an 8th card in your hand that could always be played and couldn't be removed by Thoughtseize. It was busted, and this is probably the card that forced them to change the mechanic. They actually rewrote the mechanic so that you had to pay 3 to add Lurrus to your hand and then cost him, making him a 6-drop, and he still played because having access to that extra 8th card in your hand is really good. But yeah, Lurrus sees play in a lot of decks because of that recursion. Things like, give me a second. I'm still hammer time. The top artifact deck out there with a turn 2 kill. Lurrus gives them that extra recursion to come back. If you knock out their hammer, they just have to wait a few turns, play Lurrus, and they can get it back to swing in for the quick kill. Death Shadow, which I don't have a good representation, but in decks running the monkey or the 1-drop, pretty much any low drop 1-drop power cards, Lurrus lets you get them back if they're destroyed. Jund. I put Lurrus in here, but yeah, more of those low-cost artifacts with Tarmogoyfs. And even Mill and a few other decks. Mill brings back their crabs. Even Boggles runs this. It's just really good at getting your things back, and it's why not run it? You're not going to play it every game, but the games you play it, it's really good, and I can see that's why it's getting banned. It's in way too many things, and it is very powerful in those things. So yeah, Lurrus, rest in peace. You definitely deserve the ban hammer. You are way too powerful, and I'm really surprised you weren't banned sooner. Now, taking a minute to talk about the meta of what I think is coming after this, we may not actually see that many changes because a lot of the top decks right now run Lurrus, and it doesn't really nerf. It nerfs all the decks, but it doesn't really get rid of anything. Like, power level doesn't change that much with this being gone. I think changes we'll see in a lot of decks. They're going to pick up some 3-drops they wouldn't have been playing. We may see a slight slowdown because of this. Removal becomes a little bit better. But there is a chance the meta is going to have some big changes too. We're also fairly recent into the release of the new Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. There are a lot of new cards in there that they've kind of been settling in, but with this getting out, a lot of those decks could be powerful enough to take over. I am really worried about the Boseiju Who Endures. and Wrenn and 6 combo, because that hitting non-basic lands that's painful. And definitely without the recursion, Boseiju Who Endures is a lot better now, because say you use it to get rid of that Colossus Hammer, then they're not going to have a way to return it, or at least not one that's sitting in the sideboard ready for them to grab. They may have to put some mainboard cards dedicated to that slot. So matchups are definitely going to change a little bit because of this. Hammer Time, I think, will get a little worse, because if it's up against a deck with an early game answer, they can have it. And I'm, again, worried about green decks coming in and taking over. May not happen, but it might, and I really hope it doesn't. Or if it does, I hope we see Wrenn and 6 in here soon. Or Boseiju. Just, get rid of the Boseiju now, says the Tron player. Other mentions here, it's primarily talking about Modern Man. This is the only thing coming up right now. Wouldn't mind seeing Ragavan here, but we'll see how it does without Lurrus, because a lot of the decks that play Ragavan also run Lurrus. I mean, even Burn can run Lurrus, and if Burn is running a creature that costs 6 mana, you know it's good, because it's free. But yeah, another mention, this time from the Pauper, and it's not a ban, it is an unban. Expedition map has been unbanned in Pauper, so they're throwing a bone to Tron in Pauper, and I am really happy to see that, because I actually thought about picking up Pauper Tron a while ago, and then that last ban came out, and they hit cards out of Pauper Tron, and I'm like, well, okay, I'll wait and see what it does, but Expedition map's back in the format. So yeah, welcome back, Expedition map. Thanks, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of the new format. Tectonic Edge here, signing out.